Yo, what is going on, everyone? How's everyone doing today? My name is Mewtwo Fan Nate, and I am going to be your coach for the New York Noibats for the Pokemon For Glory Season 2, and this is going to be my draft analysis / recap for everything that went down. So, if you guys did not catch the draft stream that was on A-Drive's Twitch, this is perfect for you because I will be going into further detail on the team that I drafted and why I picked what I had and things like that. So, the first mon that I really wanted to get was Celesteela. I wanted to build a core around Celesteela, Sylveon, and Zygarde 50%. I really wanted that Fairy Steel Dragon core, and I wanted to get my Steel type Celesteela because I knew it was such a good mon, and I was 10th in the draft, and unfortunately it fell to Link's Forte about 3 picks ahead of me. So with that being said, I had to rework and reconstruct my entire draft plan, and with that being said, the first mon that I actually got was M-SCIZOR, and I like M-SCIZOR for many reasons. One, it gives me a U-turn mon, it also gives me knockoff, it's got only one weakness being fire, so that's pretty easy to prep for, meaning I can draft around that pretty easily and cover that fire weakness. And it also gives me priority with Bullet Punch. It gives me setup with Swords Dance. Technician Bullet Punch is very scary, and it's extremely hard to prep for. And with that being said, I wanted something next in my draft that can beat fire types, and I was going to originally pick Landorus T, but I got sniped, and I ended up grabbing TAPU BULU instead, which I know at this point in time doesn't really make sense to you because you guys only see M-SCIZOR and TAPU BULU. But this gives me my Fairy in my Fairy Dragon Steel core. It also gives me my Grass type in my Fire Water Grass core. Things that I like about TAPU BULU is that it is a nuke. It is extremely hard to switch into. And with Z moves, you have like really nice options with like Superpower, Wood Hammer, that just completely blow back teams. For example, like normally like a Steel type would give you a lot of trouble, but with Superpower and you power it up with like a Z move or something like that, and you can get around that obstacle, and then you can go back to destroying lives. And I like the versatility with TAPU BULU, because it's not just a one-trick pony where it's just gonna go for Z Bloom Doom, get a kill, and then die. It has many other options. Like for example, you could run a sub Leech Seed set with like Protect. Fun fact, I think TAPU BULU gets like 40% of its health back if you have like leftovers, Leech Seed, and Protect. So it can be very stally, especially with teams that are a lot slower than it. So I can be kind of a jerk and stall them a little bit with like Leech Seed and things like that, get all my health back. Another thing that I really like about TAPU BULU is that it has set up with both Swords Dance and Calm Mind, so if I want to run a Calm Mind set and throw off my opponent, I can totally do that. With Calm Mind, it gets Energy Ball, it gets Giga Drain, it also gets Dazzling Gleam, so it has a nice Fairy stab as well. And it also gets Nature's Madness too, which is gonna just do 50% to your opponent's health every single time. So if it's at 100%, it goes for Nature's Madness. You bring it down to 50%. So very solid chip damage that can really help clean up the rest of the team. So I think that's pretty valuable. And with that being said, that's kind of all that I really needed out of TAPU BULU. And now I just need a Dragon type, and that will complete my Fairy Dragon Steel core. So I decided I was going to go with HYDREIGON. I almost went with Goodra because I think it was still available at this time. But with TAPU BULU and M-SCIZOR both being base 75 speed, I didn't want to have something that was base 80 speed. Just because they're too close in speed tiers. And I thought it would, I don't want to have a slow team. I don't want to have a very slow team. I can have some slow Pokemon, obviously, but I don't want my main core to be very slow. So with Hydreigon, that gives me a base 98 speed tier, and with that being said, that means I can outspeed base 95s like Darmanitan. I can outspeed things like Kyurem Black, and I can get off Draco Meteors, and it hits very hard on both the physical and special side. It has some bulky options as well, with like Thunder Wave and Dark Pulse. It also has like really nice coverage options for things that like switching into like the Draco Meteor. So for example, if a Steel type wants to switch into the Draco, you can hit him up with a Flamethrower, or you can hit him up with a Superpower. And for those Fairy types that want to switch in, you can now with like Z moves, you can go with like Flash Cannon, Iron Tail, and you can also set up with it with like Work Up and things like that. So Hydreigon has a lot of good options, and all three of my mons so far have some sort of form of setup. With like Mega Scizor, with like Swords Dance, TAPU BULU can get like Swords Dance or Calm Mind. Now Hydreigon can set up with Work Up. So we have a pretty offensive, bulky team, I would say, so far. And the next mon that I really wanted to get was Galvantula. I really wanted to see Tapu Bulu shine under webs. I thought it would get some kills. I don't have to run Scarf on it. But unfortunately, I think I just didn't get there in time. Meaning, the next person that actually picked out Galvantula was Bill Standish. So I'm not hating on him for it, because if it didn't go to him, Crimson Seabed was going to get it next, and it's just the way the cookie crumbled. So with that being said, I decided I was going to get Raikou. So I did have to pick into my free picks, and I got a tier 1. But don't get me wrong, Raikou's a great mon. It has a very good base stat total. It's very bulky, and it doesn't have like the best diverse move pool, but it always gets the job done typically. So it has like Volt Switch, it has Thunderbolt, Shadow Ball, Aura Sphere, and it has really good synergy, I would say, with Tapu Bulu, being that EQ's damage is reduced, and it also forces Earthquake users, like for example, let's say Garchomp, to run things like their Z, like a Z move, like Z Earthquake, to get around the terrain. So that makes it pretty easy to prep for. Meaning I can then like predict the Z move and then like switch out into like a flying or levitating mon, such as Hydreigon, or one of my other flying or levitating mons. Spoiler alert, I have a couple more of those. And it also has really nice setup moves as well, such as Calm Mind, so it can run an Assault Vest really well, or set up Calm Minds and be especially bulky. I like it a lot. Now, at this point in the draft, there are spinners that are going, and the one that I particularly want is Tentacruel, and unfortunately they get sniped right before Raikou. So I had those two in mind. I had Galvantula and I had Tentacruel planned out. So when Galvantula disappeared, I was like, okay, well, I'll get Raikou and then I'll pick up Tentacruel right after. And then eventually Tentacruel fell right before Raikou, so I was like, alright, well, just screw me, right? So anyway, that being said, I ended up getting Blastoise. So this also gives me a bulky water, and the water type in my Fire, Water, Grass core. It's pretty good with, Rapid Spin, Scald. It holds an Assault Vest really nicely. It also is pretty nice because it's not like setup fodder with phasing options such as like Dragon Tail, Roar, or Haze. And you can also be very offensive with it as well. I don't want anyone sleeping on Blastoise's offensive capabilities, meaning I can be running like Water Spout Blastoise, and if you're just speed creeping it for a non-invested Blastoise with like no speed, and I decide I'm gonna run max speed modest Blastoise with Water Spout, you're gonna get blown back. Like, you're gonna get blown back. You're not gonna know what hit you. And I think people are going to underestimate Blastoise. They're just gonna expect, you know, the bare minimum with like Toxic and stuff like that. But, you know, I just want to say, watch out, because, you know, Blastoise has a really nice speed tier, 78 speed, same speed tier as Diggersby, and Diggersby runs the Scarf really well, and I say that Blastoise can as well, so watch out for that. The next mon that I decided to draft was a Hazard Setter, because none of the mons that I have drafted so far can set up hazards, and I needed something that could do that, so I decided I was going to pick up MESPRIT. So MESPRIT is a great all-around mon. It has really nice utility with like Stealth Rock. It has Healing Wish as U-turn knockoff. It has great setup options with like Calm Mind or Power Up Punch, and it gives me a check to fighting types as well. And with MESPRIT, I do have I have a synergy with HYDREIGON, because Hydreigon normally weak to fighting type moves. MESPRIT sponges those up pretty well. It also works really well with RAIKOU, because RAIKOU is weak to ground, and MESPRIT just completely avoids that with Levitate. So pretty good synergy there. And the next mon I wanted to draft, I also wanted a really fast Pokemon, and I was actually kind of surprised that it was still available because of how far in the draft that it is, but I ended up getting CROBAT. So CROBAT is a really nice hazard removal mon. It has a really nice speed stat, like I said, base 130 speed. It can be really bulky with Roost. It gets U-turn as well, so that means that I have a lot of momentum going on in this team, and it's very bulky as well. So if, like, for example, like M-SCIZOR gets U-turn, Hydreigon gets U-turn, RAIKOU gets Volt Switch, MESPRIT has U-turn, now CROBAT also has U-turn, so I have a lot of momentum going in my way. And the thing that's nice about CROBAT is that it doesn't always just have to be like a very like fast band, you know, U-turn mon with like Brave Bird or something like that. It can be bulky, run Roost, it can have Nasty Plot, and it has like really nice coverage moves as well. So it can run like Heat Wave for the steel types, it can run Giga Drain for like the rock and ground types that, you know, try to like get around like Sludge Bomb and things like that. And then it has Air Slash as well for stab. So overall, CROBAT, really nice mon. Very diverse move pool and options as far as roles that it can have on a team. I like it a lot, and now that that round is over, I'm noticing that I still haven't quite patched up my fire weakness completely, and I'm missing a certain typing, and I don't have a fighting type. So with that being said, I need to pick something that can kind of cover all those options. So I ended up getting Hariyama. So Hariyama is great. It has 3 great usable abilities. It has a huge HP stat, huge attack stat. It also gives me a status absorber with Guts. It gives me thick fat support to you know, to help the fire weakness out. It also rocks Sheer Force Life Orb really well. Gets coverage for fairies in both directions with like Heavy Slam and Poison Jab, and it gives me setup options with like Belly Drum. So Hariyama is really nice for the team. It's just really bulky. It hits really hard, and it can set up and just be a threat. And, you know, it gets Fake Out. So if I'm running like a Flame Orb set, I can Fake Out safely, get my Flame Orb up, and then just like destroy lives. And like I said before, it synergizes, I would say. Like for example, you have Hariyama that's like weak to psychic types, and then I have Hydreigon that kind of absorbs those up. Hariyama is weak to flying. I have a pretty bulky Raikou, so there's nice synergy there. And, you know, of course, the thick fat helps out M-SCIZOR and TAPU BULU. It also takes some pressure off of Blastoise from being the fire resist. And generally, with an assault vest, it takes special hits very well because of its high HP stat. So, another thing that I wanted to grab after this round was over was another hazard setter, because at this point in time, MESPRIT is the only thing that can set up stealth rocks. And I want MESPRIT to do more than just be a utility mon. So what I decided to do was grab PILOSWINE, because PILOSWINE, not only is it a ground type with an electric immunity, it also gives me a mon that has 2 really usable stabs, meaning I can run Earthquake and Icicle Crash, and if I'm in the grassy terrain, I don't have to rely on Earthquake to be like the one move that I can really go for. I don't have to run like Rock Slide or something like that. I can run Stab, Icicle Crash, and hit really hard. So the thing I really like most about PILOSWINE is that it's almost like guaranteed rocks. Because of its great bulk and it has the ability Oblivious, you can't be taunted, and there's like nothing from stopping you setting up your rocks most of the time, unless you get blown back with like a Z move first turn, because week 1 I do play Kelly, aka Under the Radar. The battle's already happened, but I've EV'd my PILOSWINE to take a close combat from a Primeape. So with that being said, it's really bulky and it takes like a lot to invest to take it out. For example, like if the Primeape would want to take me out, it would have to run like a Z move or something to knock me out or crit me. So with that being said, there's nothing from stopping getting up those hazards, which is something that I like. So obviously it has great bulk, and it also gives me another setup bond, which is great because setup is really scary for other teams. Like for example, you don't want to have to face, I don't know how many mons that can set up, like M-SCIZOR that can set up, TAPU BULU can set up, RAIKOU can set up, MESPRIT can set up, CROBAT can set up, HARIYAMA can set up, and now PILOSWINE can set up. So you don't want to face a PILOSWINE that's like specially defensive and is going for curses and rests and just being annoying. I think that's a pretty good justification on why I'm bringing it. The next mon that I decided to draft is kind of the glue for the team. It is the fire type in the fire water grass car, and that is TYPHLOSION. So TYPHLOSION is a good mon because it gives me a base 100 speed, it gives me a fire immunity, it helps support BULU and M-SCIZOR. It is a decent wall breaker, it has eruption, and it has a great new move called burn up. So I mean, that's gonna be absolutely terrifying. It's a base 130 move, 100% accurate, and I think it's a buff because you do lose your fire typing, but that just means that you don't have to worry about scalds like hitting you for super effective damage. You don't have to worry about rock slides hitting you for super effective damage, or earthquakes. You just take neutral damage. So there's nothing that's going to be doing a tremendous amount of damage to you, and you can usually eat up a hit after that. Another thing that I like about TYPHLOSION is that it has flame charge for memes, so I don't have to always run Choice Scarf. Someone wants to switch out into something like I don't know, like Gastrodon or whatever, and it gives me an opportunity to like flame charge on it, because then I can just go for like Hidden Power Grass, whatever it is, knock it out, and now I have a +1 speed TYPHLOSION and just ready to fire off eruptions on the rest of his team, and his one check to me is like gone. So that's nice. It also has a really really cool like physical move pool with like wild charge, so I can also hit water types and things like that. So if like my opponent has like a Gyarados, I can run Mix with like wild charge and like hit it for really nice damage. It also has workup for setup, so it's another setup option that my opponents are going to have to worry about. And if I want to run something bulkier with like Will-O-Wisp, I have that option as well. And the next mon, the last mon of the draft, is Lickilicky. Now, Lickilicky is a fat mon. It gives me a cleric, which I did not have before, a normal type as well. So, with that being said, I can now heal bell, I can wish, I can protect. It also gives me an additional setup mon with great coverage moves. And the setup that this thing gets is actually ridiculous. Like, this thing can swords dance, it can curse, it can belly drum. It has a great physical move pool with like elemental punches. It gets knockoff, it gets power whip, it gets dragon tail, so it can't be setup fodder. And its special move pool is good as well. Like, you know, you have Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower, Surf, Thunderbolt. Like, if you're running something that's like, I don't know, what's a good example for this? Like, for example, its special attack is like base 80 or base 85, something around there. One time I had an opponent in a draft league where their team was very weak to Bolt Beam, and I had a Milk Tank with elemental punches that was absolutely just destroying them. I was just predicting, I was like, okay, you're going to go into Xatu, I'm clicking Ice Punch. Are you going to go into Gyarados? I'm clicking Thunder Punch. It's just the absolute, like, coverage that this thing can get and get big damage off is incredible, even though coming off of a very mediocre attack stat. And with that being said, that wraps up my draft. So if you guys are excited for the P4G Season 2, and you guys are rooting for your New York Noibats, go ahead and hit this video up with a like. It would be greatly appreciated. Week 1 we face Kelly, aka Under the Radar, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.